All right, thanks again, everyone, for joining today for today's Tech It Yourself webinar, the 2021 rvatech Year Ahead Preview. I'd like to welcome you to what I believe is our first webinar of the year. So thanks for joining. I am joined today by Carrie Roth, the chair of our board of directors. Carrie, welcome to the webinar.
Great, Nick. Thanks so much for having me, and welcome everybody to our 2021 rvatech Tech It Yourself kickoff. And it's great to be here with you, and I'm excited to be the chair this year. So thank you.
Carrie, I think you were on mute. Can you unmute there and welcome us one more time? Oh no, I think we're good. Yep. All right, well, thanks so much, Carrie. Today we are going to spend a little time talking about what Carrie and I have seen and heard among our members. We're also going to talk about our programming, what we have in place and what we have planned for the year ahead. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to maximize your membership for those of you who are maybe relatively new members this year or are just curious how you might maximize this unique virtual / hybrid nature that we're all operating in at the council. So first and foremost, Carrie, I want to kind of just take a moment and talk a little bit about what we've seen over the past year, how our members are reacting, what we're seeing out there in our community among our members in terms of not just what we're working on, what people are progressing on in the tech space, but also how they're operating differently, maybe how they're approaching the year ahead. What does hybrid mean? All that good stuff. Anything to kind of kick us off here?
Yeah, and I think 2021 is going to be a lot of learning for what we learned in 2020 and the Great Disruption, and really take those lessons and how do we apply it to it. Realizing that we've got to meet people where they are. And how they've adjusted to this new environment. So we're looking and continuing to find new ways to connect. Our members are creative and are flexible, and they're having ways to address work from home and work from anywhere, really, and creating solutions to addressing the new technological demands that we've all seen over the last year. We're into week 51 of the Great Disruption, so I think we've all had a lot of lessons and are continuing to adjust moving forward.
Yeah, speaking about lessons and what we've learned going forward and what projects are rolling on right now, what I've seen out and about talking to a lot of folks is that people have certainly looked at pivoting and looked at changing their business model or adjusting it where they see appropriate. But what's also been interesting is a lot of people have looked internally. People have looked at their internal communications, their internal processes, their internal marketing. How are they communicating and working together amongst one another? And so I think that's been an interesting facet of all this is it's just not been outside projects and outside clients and outside initiatives. It's been an opportunity or a moment to self-reflect and look internally and see how can you be better as a company going forward? Because I think one of the things we can all agree on is that we want to take the lessons that we've learned from the past year and use those to be better, not just during the pandemic or as the pandemic ends, but even forward into the next 3 to 5 years, because I think there are some fascinating lessons learned.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, I think, one of the things that we have learned even today, talking on the Zoom with everybody, is the amount of energy it really does take to speak through a lens every day and sit here all day, because you've got to be able to communicate your emotions and how you feel. And that takes a very different way of communicating and a different level of energy that at some point at the end of the day we all feel very exhausted from. So trying to find those balances of how to do things differently is great.
Yeah, speaking of being exhausted, I'll plus one to that. And I think not only has it been exhausting to just work through this pandemic, but one of the things I've seen is that there's a variety of new products and new competitors out there on the marketplace, which has caused us all to reevaluate our business models. And I think that can be even more exhausting in some ways. But I think that's where we've seen a lot of our members really thrive as well. There have been some new things on the market. There have been some new players in the arena, which is always great to have a bigger, stronger community, but also means that you got to rethink your business strategy a little bit. You got to think about how you're going to approach this new environment and how you're going to stay competitive. Because the business model you had before may not be as relevant or as competitive as it once was. And so I've seen a lot of our members use the opportunity that competitors bring to create and pivot new iterations of their own products, which has been fascinating.
Yeah, and I think those who have adapted quickly are really have that competitive edge. You know, the rate of change used to be about 15 years, and pre-Great Disruption, it was about 5 years. And over the last 51 weeks, that has accelerated exponentially. It's an opportunity to try new things. It's an opportunity to really make sure that you are being agile and flexible and adaptable to those needs that are changing very quickly and will continue to do so.
Yeah, and one of those opportunities that I've seen that, you know, I think now has become even more relevant to a broader audience of our members is the government sector. I think what's been interesting, at least from my perspective, Carrie, is that the government's now looking at a lot of digital transformation, or at least ramping up or advancing it at a quicker speed. A lot of what I've heard from the General Assembly these past month and a half or so has been about potential projects, potential digital transformations, potential digital adoptions. And I think that's a whole new market that a lot of our members now can play in that maybe they weren't looking at before.
Yeah, I really, you know, how government is working certainly has changed, but there's still a lot of room for growth. For example, when you're communicating with some members that work in state government or some individuals, they don't have cameras on their computers. And you think that's kind of crazy. And as we're all communicating through this way, and you try to engage and you can't see each other. And that's a little bit of a, you know, a hindrance when, you know, Virginia is certainly a leader in technology in the country. We have a high density of IT. We were just named as the top cybersecurity state by site selectors. And, you know, so we have a lot of competitive advantages in technology with our companies and our people, but we want to make sure that our government is equally as strong. And so there's a great opportunity there for growth for our government. You see the General Assembly, you know, using Zoom and other technologies to be connected to the people. But I think there's really some advancements that can continue to be made there.
And I think just piggybacking on, you know, some of what the iterations and progress that the Commonwealth is making, I think it just makes our overall community here in Richmond even better at this point to launch into the next few years in terms of a tech community and in terms of a tech town. We've seen some interesting new players join the market, come to Richmond. I think we've all seen the headlines about some of the larger markets where they're experiencing a little bit of an exodus. And I think Richmond is poised to hopefully be that new place for a lot of people who maybe previously didn't think about Richmond.
Yeah, I totally agree, Nick. You know, people can work from anywhere now. And so people are making quality of life choices. And we've always had that competitive advantage of quality of life here and really incredible talent. We have great universities. We have great public schools. We have great community colleges. We have other great programs that really help accelerate those tech skills that are becoming even more relevant. I think we saw, you know, at the beginning of the school year for those with school-age children, just the challenges in the first week of being able to do that and how you change those skill sets, and it's becoming an everyday life. So much more so than we ever had dreamt for before. And it's exciting to see the new companies that are coming to town, but it's also a great opportunity to attract talent here for the long term. And, you know, we have a great technology community, and let's just keep that momentum growing.
Yeah, and, you know, we have a question here from the audience, just to piggyback on that even more, is that, you know, how have we seen some of the more, you know, quote unquote, kind of old school mentalities or behaviors around remote working change among commercial enterprises? And, you know, at least from what I've seen, Carrie, it's almost been a forced evolution or behavioral change that maybe in the past was something that went through, you know, 4 or 5 different layers of approval, and it was a one-off scenario if you could work remotely. Whereas now it's just a behavior that has just been adopted naturally, and seems like it, you know, it has to be the accepted behavior in many cases.
Yeah, and I think the key to that, Nick, is really flexibility, right? So it's allowing to be able to work around those different environments. For those who are, you know, dual income, have young children at home, it's a very different environment than those who are, you know, single and have that different flexibility needs that they have or when one person's going to the office and the other person's staying at home. It's just a lot of different dynamics, but I think that flexibility is really important. I think that's the type of culture that you've seen with emerging technology companies that is now going to be more pervasive throughout all companies. Certainly the more traditional type of companies, with your financing and lawyers and those who are used to being in the office have got to make some adaptability for around that. But I think the most important thing is, how do we continue to create culture and connectivity amongst our workers, because that's really how you continue to be a strong company, and those are going to be important lessons and things to continue moving forward.
Yeah, and regarding culture, Carrie, I think that's one of the ways that Richmond companies can really capitalize on or maximize the business community that we have here. There's a certain casual nature, there's a certain friendly environment, there's a certain communal aspect to how we all engage, and whether it's day-to-day, 9 to 5, or even afterward, that I think Richmond can really use as a selling point at this point. I mean, we've all now moved to this more casual world where we're on Zoom most of the time, we're all working from home most of the time, and as Richmond kind of moves into the years ahead, I think there's an opportunity to take advantage of that similar style and that similar kind of, I like to call it brewery chic. It's a little bit of a happy hour vibe or business casual vibe all the time here, and I think there's an opportunity.
Yeah, we really do have a great Give First community. It's been really important to our emerging technology companies as well. People are so welcoming to, hey, yeah, I'll meet and chat with you and help you out and make some connections. And I think that casualness or ability to connect, and people now have a little bit more time that they didn't have before to be able to make these connections, because they're not, having to travel. And that, will change, but some people are like, I'm never going to travel again for work, ever. I just don't need to. So it's going to be really interesting to see how all of this shakes out. But I think we'll continue to evolve, and that flexibility and being agile is going to be really key to that success.
So, Carrie, you mentioned community. Let's dive into what rvatech has here in terms of community. A lot of what our mission really aims to do is create a bigger, better, more vibrant community here for Richmond and the technology companies and practitioners that are here. So if it's all right by you, I'd like to go ahead and kind of just do a quick scan of what we have planned for the year here at the council. We've adopted somewhat of a hybrid nature, and I'll kick it off here in a moment. But Carrie, any introductory words here about the year ahead programming wise?
I mean, I think we've had just some incredibly strong programming over 2020 and really introduced some new things. And we tried some new things that we're not going to see again in 2021, but I think that's really, as technology community, that's what we should be doing. So I'm excited about what we have on board for 2021 next. So let's share it with everybody.
Cool. Well, like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a virtual year. At least that's why we have it planned out. I'm sorry, a hybrid year. That's how we have it planned, where we have some virtual content, we have some live content. And just like anybody, we're going to take it as it comes, 1 month at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time. But we're going to do the best we can to plan ahead and make for a successful year for the council and for everyone who participates in our membership. So without further ado, I'd like to first start off talking about our conferences. Conferences have been the bread and butter of our programming for all of the council's existence, and we want to continue that momentum going forward. We had some great events in 2019, and we had a lot of things planned for 2020. We want to make sure that we continue along that trajectory. Of course, hopefully most of you all have seen or been to our data summit. That programming and that concept will continue into the next year. We have a new concept called EDGE. Our EDGE conference will focus on cloud, DevOps, and enterprise architecture. These were areas and topics that were identified by our board of directors as being significant in the coming years. And so we wanted to make sure we got in front of those topics for our community. And of course, we'll have our Women in Technology Conference, which it goes by the brand Drive. And that will have a variety of topics among all sectors. But more importantly, this is a conference that's curated and presented by our Women in Tech Committee, but not necessarily just for women. It's for everyone in our Richmond community. But we just have that committee really try to curate and program what they think is the most vibrant and most impactful content possible for the year ahead. The way that we plan on kind of hybridizing this content is all three of our conferences will have a virtual kickoff. The Data Summit is on March 11th, the EDGE Conference is on April 15th, and the DRIVE Conference is on May 13th. So we'll have a virtual couple hour / half day virtual conference for all three of those concepts in the spring. Throughout the summer, each conference will have a summer series of some nature. I believe the Data Summit folks are putting together a mentoring program, webinars as well, same for EDGE and same for DRIVE. We're trying to put together either webinars or mentoring or workshops or some sort of content that provides continual programming throughout the summer. Hopefully in the fall, all of these will be live conferences. The Data Summit is planned for September, EDGE is actually planned for August, and DRIVE is planned for November. So fingers crossed, we're hoping to have a live conference in place. At the best, or at the least, we hope to have at least a scaled back version, if not a full-blown live event at all, if at all possible. We're going to keep our fingers crossed and do the best we can. If for some reason we can't, we'll do the same virtual productions that we did last year, but try to spice them up and add even more impactfulness to those experiences. Carrie, any comments on the conference structure?
Yeah, I think, this is a great opportunity to really meet people where they are. People are very comfortable in different settings. And I think this is something to take away from the Great Disruption, is to meet people where they are. And, really, I think this will give us more opportunity to engage with folks who are more comfortable from engaging from their laptops than in their high tops or high heels. So we want to make sure that everybody in all of our member companies know that they have an opportunity to participate in our rvatech conferences and events. It's not just for leadership, it's for really the entire team.
Thanks, Carrie. Additionally, a lot of you all rely on our networking and the business development opportunities that rvatech brings forward. We're going to continue to try to do those as best we can. We saw some success with some outdoor events last year, and we're going to kind of front load those and keep them rolling throughout 2021 as well. First up is our Links tournament. It's our golf tournament every year. This year it's hosted again at Hermitage. This one's coming up on us pretty quick here on April 26th. Typically this event is in the fall, but we had such success this past fall that we wanted to front load it here in 2021. Golf seems to be one of those things that people are still comfortable getting out and about doing. So please join us. Last year's event was even larger than 2019. So if that's any indication of kind of behavior here in the pandemic, come on out and get some fresh air and see some people from a distance at our rvatech Links event. We are hoping to have our Tech on Tap series back on the programming docket. However, we're going to pick some outdoor venues and try to pick some bigger places where we can spread out a little bit, but still get together and have a conversation if at all possible. That'll kick off in May, assuming that groups and gatherings are allowed. And then a new event for us this year is our Tech Fest. We will be hosting a 5K and 10K and cornhole tournament all at once. This will be in June. It'll be outdoor. We're currently looking for a venue. But we hope this will be a new opportunity for folks to get together and network and do something outside, particularly for those folks who don't play golf. Carrie, I know you're planning on winning this race.
I do love my running. I think these are exciting new opportunities for us. We learned a lot from programming in 2020, and we're taking those lessons into 2021. Nick, our community is so important, and how do we continue to find ways to connect and support each other's growth is really key to this. So I think as we move through the year and find opportunities that are safe environments where we can, particularly being outside, will be really important to continue to connect with each other and grow that community.
Yep. Thanks, Carrie. We have a full slate of virtual events that we're continuing. As the pandemic kind of hit us last year, we certainly went into warp speed in terms of putting on new programming that was virtual, that was in the digital space. We're going to continue that throughout 2021. So if you're used to our webinar series, which you're on right now, we're going to have those every other week throughout the whole year. The next one coming up is on March 31st. It's the social currency. It's about blockchain and cryptocurrency. And actually, we hope to have a couple more in March as well. So we'll get those scheduled here soon, but please, if you're still on the webinar circuit, obviously you are, if you're listening to this, please check out some of our other events. Additionally, if you're on the Apple iPhone App Store social media train, please check out Clubhouse. We're over there now. We have an account ourselves. It's at rvatech. It's the Richmond Tech Council. Right now, we're just over there as a user, and we're putting on some events. We have a few coming up here in the next couple weeks, and we hope to have our own Clubhouse here in the next few weeks once we get things ramped up. But definitely check us out over there. Some great content, a little more casual, also a little bit more engaging. There's certainly more interaction happening over on Clubhouse than maybe on the webinar series.
Yeah, Nick, this is really exciting to try this new venue of Clubhouse. I think people are curious about it. I'm curious about it, and then see how it really does take off. But it is a little bit more of a kind of how we're used to engaging with each other. You know, and if you just want to listen, you can just listen in, or if you want to engage in conversation, you can do that too. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too. It should be a fun place to have some new conversations. And like you said, again, have a little bit more of that interaction that we're all used to having at our live events. And of course, we have our RVA Tech Talks podcast. If you haven't yet subscribed to this or check it out, please do. We launch new episodes every other week. This podcast is hosted by Ford Pryor, who's been with us for a little over a year now. And we also have a co-host, Julia Barnhart, coming on board for this year as well. So this podcast really tries to highlight great things that are happening in our tech community here in Richmond, great people that are doing great things. So please check it out, subscribe. It's in the iTunes store, or at really any platform where you get your podcasts. Please check it out.
Yeah, and you know, if you all have ideas for who you want to hear from, and please let us know, because we would love to make sure that we have a really diverse community that we're bringing on board, and would love your ideas and see if we can get those plugged into what's going on. We've had a tremendous amount of work from a number of folks, in particular Lori Jennings, that really stepped up to the plate over the last year and helped us with programming. So we always want new ideas. Be sure to shoot those our way. Next way.
And we have a few other great events throughout the year, some new, some tried and true that you'll recognize here. First, we have our virtual career fair coming up on May 26th. We did this for the first time last year. It had a really successful event. A lot of people seem to enjoy it. I think, you know, this may be one of those pieces of programming that extends beyond the pandemic. You know, everyone in our community is either looking for talent or is talent. So this is hopefully kind of a universally impactful event for everyone in our community. And of course, we have our annual awards gala. Hopefully you all participated or engaged in some sort of watch party or something last year, completely virtual last year. This year, we're going to have a hybrid approach. We will still do the filming. We will still do the watch party opportunity concept. We're going to do a full scale production. So if you want to stay at home and watch it, or gather with your team and watch it at somebody's house, still going to be a possibility. However, we are going to plan for a live event as well. So we'll have something on site, outside, where we can space it out a little bit and still have that really unique, once in a year type of experience.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun this year. Nick, I think we got really great feedback from everybody, and I know we certainly enjoyed it. So looking forward to this year, and looking forward to great nominees too.
Yep, and those nominees should be opening up here pretty soon. Our committee is gathering in the next month or so, and we should launch the whole nomination and application process by the early summer. So please keep an eye out for that. And then last but not least, many of you all might be familiar with the RVA JS conference. It's been happening every year for several years now, and that group has partnered with us at RVA Tech, and we're going to help them put that event on later this year. We hope to launch it in mid to late November of this year, again, hoping we can gather in a live capacity. And if not, we'll certainly look at a virtual concept as well. But RVA JS is partnering up with us at RVA Tech, so we hope to see you at that event this fall as well. All right, Carrie, so that kind of rounds us out with our programming for the year. Before we open it up to any more Q&A or some discussion, I just wanted to kind of maybe go back and forth with you a little bit about ways that folks can maximize their RVA Tech membership. We hear this a lot. We see people join and then not sure what the first step is or how to really start to get the best impact out of their membership. So Carrie, you were a member, you are a member, and you for a long time. So what have you seen? What have you heard? What are the best practices that you've seen out there from membership?
Well, I think, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's really important that you all share with your company that the membership is for everybody, and that all benefits are shared with the entire team, and pushing out that information of what the different RVA Tech events are going on and how they can participate. So it's not just the leadership or business development components of the team. Really allow people to take advantage of getting out of their comfort zone and learning something new. There's a lot of different programming that we've brought on board. So there's something for everybody. And just sharing that information is one of those first key steps.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Carrie. One of the things I wanted to mention is I've seen some case studies where people have really jumped in with ideas, not knowing what the next step is in terms of a black and white, clear direction, but they just want to engage. And really, for anybody out there who has an idea or has a thought or might want to bring something to the table, please reach out either to me or Carrie or anybody on our team here, or even anybody in our leadership on the board of directors. We're always looking for great new ideas. And one of the cool things about RVA Tech is that, at least in terms of how we operate from an execution perspective, we're pretty small and nimble and agile, and we're always trying out new things. We're trying to be on the cutting edge of what's out there for programming, what's out there for content, what's out there for media. And so if you're a subject matter expert, or you just want to volunteer, or you have a cool new idea, please let us know, because frankly, the people that get the most out of their membership are the ones that bring those things to the table and then help bring those things to real life as well, because we are a small team, like I mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly have had so many people that just roll up their sleeves and help. And I mentioned Lori before, but Andrea Goulet, Corey Bite, she has been a big help on our DEI efforts. And there's just been a number of things. And so please don't be afraid to throw something at us and step up to the plate, because we need, RVA Tech is only as strong as our members and only as engaging as our members put into it. So, I've been a member in different forms for over the last decade, and really the relationships that I have built have been tremendous, but also just to learn what's going on and what people are doing, and it's just really amazing. And to see how people have progressed over their careers is really great. And guess what? You can do that all here in Richmond, Virginia. You don't have to go somewhere else. And we're really excited about how people can engage and how we're going to transform this year. But your input is important to all of the success. So we laid out a whole bunch of things during this webinar today, but that doesn't mean there's not room for input or ideas or topics. There's a lot of speakers we need, and a lot of nominations we'll need, and all of those great things that you all can help be a voice for.
Yeah, and I hope anybody who's out there, I know I've seen the audience list here, we kind of have a broad range of people, and that's exactly what we want. Our North Star at RVA Tech here is really the entire tech ecosystem. It's not just senior leadership and that C-suite level, and it's not just the practitioner, and it's not just the business development person who's trying to get out there and generate work and clients. It's every piece and part of that. It's even the colleges and the schools and the nonprofits in our area. We're trying to put on programming throughout the year that really has a benefit to every piece and part of our tech ecosystem. So if you see a void, or if you see something that's missing, or you feel like maybe you're not getting as much as you'd like to get, let us know. We'd love to kind of add to the menu here, so to speak, and make sure that we're serving our entire ecosystem. Okay, we're going to take a few minutes to answer any Q&A that might come in. If you have anything for Carrie or myself, please let us know. We do have a question that's just popped up. Some folks want to go back and talk a little bit about what we're seeing with remote working here, and that seems to be the topic du jour everywhere. But there seems to be a message that remote working is here to stay. Are we seeing a difference between the large organizations in RVA Tech and the small organizations? in terms of how they're approaching it, how they're applying it, and how they're how it might affect their office long term. And so, Carrie, I don't know, you want to start off jumping into this one?
Yeah, sure. I think it's not only large firms versus small firms, but also what industry sector you're in, and how you are comfortable with and the environment that you can create, and how you're going to be able to create that environment moving forward. You know, it was really interesting at the very beginning of the Great Disruption, was very concerned about contact surfaces. And that really, because people thought that's how it was being transmitted, that really sent everybody home. And that has not panned out to be as true. And so obviously, you know, you've got to be able to keep yourself physically distant, and all of that, but there are safe ways you can do it. But I think, you know, those industries that are used to doing things in a very safe environment, or people that have a small space that they go into, a dedicated space, but even in open spaces, you can do it as long as you just are safe and aware of that. But I do think, you know, your larger corporations, you're probably going to see from what I've heard and engaging with folks that work at them, those large corporations, you're probably going to see them out a little bit longer than perhaps some of the smaller organizations. But, you know, I was even reading, you know, Answers Now, in the article in the paper today about them and their raise. And, you know, they're saying this is just how we're going to be. A remote team. So I think it's going to, how your culture works, how your team works. You know, we even had major corporations that before this had gone from completely distributed, saying that didn't work, and bring everybody back into the office. So it'll be interesting to see how those companies adapt. But there's a lot of culture, and I think it's going to be a lot of flexibility. But what we really need to keep is our community and our connectedness amongst corporations to keep that cool culture that we have here in RVA.
Yeah, Carrie, absolutely. I'd say the same thing. It's not a black and white prescriptive solution across the board based on size of company or sector or what you're doing. It's a redefinition of culture. So the only way to really plan long-term or to make a decision long-term is to define your culture and decide, okay, how do we want to be as a company? What are we trying to achieve? How do we want to behave? How do we want to be seen? And that type of stuff, those types of data points can inform your decisions on those things, because frankly, as we've all seen over the last 12 months, the data changes, or our understanding of the data changes, or our interpretation of the data changes. So if those things all keep changing, then how are we supposed to come up with a black and white answer to whether remote work is a good thing for our company, our size, or our sector? It's really just dependent upon your culture. What are you trying to achieve as a business, and how do you want to go about achieving it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people also are seeing now they have access to different talent that they maybe not had access to before. And so really taking advantage of that to bring the best people and the best minds. And eventually that might need a move. You've seen a lot of technology communities and a lot of smaller markets doing a huge push to get people to move to their community. And I think that'll pay off for large, long-term dividends when you can change your community in that way.
And one of the things I'd like to highlight is, I'm sure many of you all listening have made certain cultural changes in your companies or in your own personal behaviors, or there's something new that you're doing today that you weren't doing 12 months ago that you're probably going to keep doing. And the reason I mention that is, if you are, please reach out to us and let us know. We'd love to storytell about that. A lot of the benefits of rvatech is that we all get to learn from one another in terms of what we're doing and how we're operating, and come up with good ideas that, you know, I can hear what Carrie does and I can tweak what she does to apply to my team, or vice versa. And I think that's the real benefit of rvatech and the community we have here, is that we learn from one another. We certainly don't copy things. We maybe just apply our own iterations and our own lenses to what everyone else is doing and do what's best for us. And that's how we learn, and that's how we get better, and that's how we can hopefully come out of this pandemic even stronger and better than we were before. So Carrie, any more Q&A coming in here. I don't see anything else. Any last minute questions as we get out of here? Going once, twice, three times. Carrie, I'm not seeing anything. Any final words that you can leave us with as we depart?
No, this is going to be a really exciting 2021, though it's hard to believe it's almost March. The year is passing us by quickly, but please, we really want you to engage in a number of different ways. And this is your tech council. Make it with the most you can. And we're here to listen and adapt. And there's a lot of great things to be a part of.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Let's make it an exciting year. Let's look forward to what's going to happen. And hopefully we come out of this year with even more new ideas and more best ways forward. So thanks so much, Carrie, for joining us today, coming on here with me. Thanks to you all for taking your lunch hour. I appreciate it. Have a few extra minutes here. Hopefully I bought you some time. And hopefully we'll see you next time on rvatech's Tech It Yourself webinar series. Bye, everyone.